Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and I'm coming at you from the west side of Andros Island. I'm here hosting our annual bonefish trip at the Andros Island Bonefish Club, and I'm here with Shawn Leadon, my very dear friend, and of course, here on the west side, pretty much anywhere on Andros Island, we are fishing a fly often referred to as the Super Gotcha or the Andros Island Gotcha. So we wanted to sit down and talk a little bit with Shawn about how that fly came about and its importance here on the island. So Shawn, this fly, of course, I mean, you know, I've got a box full of flies, yeah. But you and I always migrate back to what we call at Mad River Outfitters, we call this the Andros Island Gotcha. Yep. And this is the fly.
It's the #1 fly in the world. The only time you don't use a gotcha is when you don't have one.
That's
correct.
That's the only time you don't use one is when you don't have one.
That's right.
Well, this fly was shown to me. It was actually, I remember we were at the club next door. Mm-hmm. So this is like in 2000, I don't know, mid 2000s, early 2000s. And I was sitting around with Cole McVeigh, whom his father, Jim
McVeigh, yes.
Jim McVeigh kind of came up with, although your father probably did, we'll get to that, but he was credited with McVeigh's Gotcha.
Correct.
And so Cole showed me the basics on how to tie this fly, and then either that same year or a year or two later, your brother Nick sat me down and showed me, I think, what you guys often called the Super Gotcha.
Super Gotcha, correct.
Yeah.
It's more bulkier.
So I went home and I tweaked it a little bit. I added some UV epoxy to the back so it sinks better and lasts longer. I put Arctic Fox for the wing. And then I mess around with some different colors in the flash sometimes, maybe a little grizzly there to give it like a mud line in the shrimp and what have you. But this fly, we call this the Andros Island Gotcha on Mad River Outfitters website. And we do the green eyes, eyeballs, which is what Nick taught me.
Yes.
And then I also do some bead chain.
Yep.
So
for shallow water.
Yeah, for shallower water and it's softer landing.
Exactly.
So talk about how this fly came to be with your father and what have you.
Okay, certainly. Well, just like we would have seen today, there's a lot of intricate stuff. You as an angler, you would not see it. The guide sees a lot of different things. And so his first thought process is when he hits the flat, he looks for the bait. He looks around and he takes a look at the surrounding. He wants to look for crab. The shrimp is translucent, so you really can't see the shrimp. But you see these various bait fish, and oftentimes you'd see big fish chasing the big fish, right? So there's the minnow and there's the moharas that bonefish eat. And so what we found out through our studies is just like a baby, bonefish goes through certain increments of what they eat. Like if they're back in the various estuaries, the smaller fish, they're feeding on soft stuff like algae on the bottom. Then they get into feeding on soft shell crabs, and they get into eating, the shrimp and that sort of thing. Once they become like 4 to 5 pounds and bigger, they start to become meat eaters. And so you find them feeding on the minnows and the moharas, the bigger bait. And so you have a fly which was designed the first fly was the Crazy Charlie fly.
Right.
That fly is a phenomenal fly, but it's plain, it's bland. And what I mean by that is it's translucent, so to speak. Okay, so you have a fly that has some, what do you call that clear stuff they wrap on it?
The vinyl rib or
the vinyl,
rib.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have a little craft fur on there, and it's just a plain fly. So if you're going after bigger fish and you're getting like a place on the West Coast, you need a combination of both. You don't want it just only looking like a shrimp. It has to be a shrimp pattern, yes, but a bait fish pattern. And so my brother Nick, who came up with the concept of putting additional craft fur and extending the flat, what we back then used to call it flat shabu, and that sort of thing, and putting long, what do you call it, the flash tubing?
The mylar tubing.
The mylar tubing.
Yeah.
Extending that beyond the curvature of the hook. Because big fish wants big bait, right? And so you don't want it overly bulky. You don't want it has to be streamlined to which it can cast. It has to be aerodynamic, and it has to be able to make a soft presentation. So this is why we chose 2 different types of weights. You have a bead eye and you have a lead eye. The lead eye is specifically for deeper water, and the bead chain or the clear eyes are actually for the shallower water, but it makes a softer presentation, right? And so Nick, just like my dad, there's nobody on earth, inclusive of myself, and believe you me, folks, I've caught a lot of big bonefish.
Yes.
My brother Nick was the ultimate big bonefish catcher,
Yes.
far more pronounced than my father, who started it.
Yeah.
And based on his studies, following how big fish charge big flies, he then went into tying and did this extension of the gotcha. It's a super hybrid.
Yeah.
We call it the super gotcha. You call it
Andros Island
Andros
Gotcha.
Island Gotcha,
Yeah.
right? But it's actually the super gotcha. And my brother Nick, Rupert Jr.,
Yeah.
he started that, yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's the one who showed it to me.
Correct.
And very gracious. I mean, that's something he could have kept to himself, but he shared it with me, knowing full well that I'd probably go home and
Tie it up.
I'd probably tie it up and make some money off of it. I mean, we sell a lot of these flies.
Yes, yes.
And partly thanks to you. I mean,
Well,
you send a lot of people our way.
No doubt. Well, what a lot of anglers don't realize is a lot of the flies that are tied for production are they're not putting any emphasis on whether or not you're going big bone fishing or not.
Right.
And so when they tie a fly, which is the absolute fly, it's the pattern to tie. But when you come into Andros specifically, you need big bulky flies. There's only 2 places that does it. And yours is the number 1 because you guys do it correctly. The extension of where the crafter is in proximity to the shank, the curvature of the hook, and the amount of flashing that's used on the fly. So it's not overly matched.
Yeah.
And so it's a very unique tie. Most people can do it themselves, but I can tell you, if you want it done professionally, this is why I send everybody at Mad Rivers Outfitters to get it done.
Well, we appreciate that. So it was originally called the Gotcha. Why?
Well, my dad, that was the saying he had. When each time his angler catches a fish and he's telling you, strip, 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 gotcha! Because once you make that long strip, that was his deal.
Yeah.
We've got several other companies and they're all under the gotcha limit. I've got a dog named Gotcha. I've got a boat named Gotcha. So it was his favorite catchphrase for when you hook a fish, he goes, gotcha! Yeah. And that's how it came about, yes. And that's how that fly,
There you have
it was
it.
named Gotcha, yes.
Well, it's really true. I mean, there's nothing. A Crazy Charlie, great fly. We
No doubt.
both
It was a good-
we
it
both
is a
knew
good fly.
Charlie.
Yep.
And fantastic bonefish fly. But even a standard gotcha that you buy in a fly shop is not the gotcha that we're using here on the west side.
Not
of
at all.
Andros.
Not at all.
Yeah.
If I can hold that just for a minute,
Yeah.
just to show the viewers. If you look at this, it does look like a shrimp pattern. But what makes it unique, when this fly gets wet, see all that flash there? You have a culmination of a shrimp and a minnow pattern. So once that moves in the water and that flash catches the sun, you've got a bait pattern, a fish bait pattern also.
Yeah.
So it's very unique.
Yeah.
Very unique, very unique.
Well, that's cool to hear, man. A lot of history on that fly. It's one of my favorite flies to tie. Of course I carry other stuff with me and I use the other stuff.
Yep.
But not only do I catch bonefish on that fly, I've caught permit on that fly.
Permit, tarpon, everything.
I've caught redfish on that fly.
Yeah.
So really neat history, really proud to kind of be a part of that history here on Andros Island. So as always, friends, get the history of the Andros Island Gotcha, or the Super Gotcha, as it's often referred to here on the island. So as always, friends, thanks for being here. Special thanks to Shawn Leadon for a fantastic week of bone fishing here at the Andros Island Bonefish Club. We will certainly be back very soon.
No doubt.
In fact, you and I are going to go camping.
No doubt. We'll
right
do it
around
up in the
corner.
creek.
Yeah, we're going to go camping here real soon. So as always, friends, be sure to subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out and it's free. And hit that like button. That just makes us feel good. And be sure to watch this video here. Watch that video here. You might see Shawn in several of them. So, as always, friends, stay tuned. We've got a lot coming at you.